Welcome to The Sarah Scoop Show. It's time to get the scoop with Sarah.
Hey there, my name is Paul Greene, and I play Dr. Carson Shepard on the hit show When Calls of the Heart, and a bunch of other little things. Love to play music, and I'm here having a nice little chat with you. So how did I get started in acting? I'm from a small part of Canada, and I was in drama in school and in church, but it wasn't until I saw a movie called Bloodsport with Jean-Claude Van Damme. It's a martial arts movie, and in the same weekend I actually saw Purple Rain, which is Prince's movie. And I made the decision to put myself in acting school at 16. So as soon as I got my driver's license, I drove to Edmonton, which was the nearest town, and went to a school for film and television there. And then modeling, somebody found me for modeling shortly after that. So I kind of went around the world for 10 years doing modeling. But I was also doing TV commercials quite a bit. And every time I was on set doing TV commercials were kind of my happiest days. And I was like, okay, I need to find a way to get out of print and into the moving picture, which I eventually moved to LA. But I was living in New York for almost a decade, and in New York doing like a lot of commercials and studying with like Stella Adler and Uta Hagen and a bunch of Susan Batson and some really great teachers there, but was mostly modeling in New York. But then 15 years ago moved to LA with my then 6-month-old son, and just took a big risk and kind of started from scratch with no credits at 30 years old, and just took a big risk and decided to give it a shot in Los Angeles. And that was 15 years ago. I guess I feel like I've kind of always been in it, just because of, always being in the entertainment business. And there was in fashion, there was always commercials, and there was always stuff around. There was always cameras around, like moving cameras. But yeah, it wasn't until I moved to LA that I started auditioning for TV shows. And then when I got out here, I got a David Kelly show called Wedding Bells. But I've been on 650 auditions, and I've had 600 no's. I've had 50 yeses in my career. So it's a long journey of people telling you, no, you're not right for this. It's a lot of dealing with a lot of rejection, and you have to be willing to take quite a bit of no's in order to get to the few yeses, for sure. It's a long process. You got to really want it. And nowadays, because of video cameras of our own and just the way that the internet is, we're able to create. There's no excuse. You can kind of create your own little series on YouTube or your own little thing on Instagram, and you have to just keep working and keep doing it. Is there a time where I thought I made it? Well, I did a series for Fox called Wicked Games, and that was 42 episodes. And long days, like 16-hour days. And I played Tatum O'Neal's love interest. Well, I can do this as a career because these people believe in me, and I'm showing up every day for months and months and months. And then once it started to feel like a job, like I was showing up for. Yeah, but I think Tatum O'Neal had won an Academy Award, and she was my love interest. So that was like a really, look at my cats in the background. That was really cool to work with her. And, but you never really feel like you've made it. There's always work to do. Like it's such a, it's not, it's a strange business. You could be on a show, and then all of a sudden you're off a show for a couple years. And when that year comes by, you're not sure if you're you're going to work again. So it's like a strange, I don't know if actors ever feel like they've like made it, because you're sort of at the mercy of new stories being written and being a part of that. So you're always keep showing you on your toes, I think. My friend Johan Erb came out here first, and he had gotten a couple TV shows, and he gave me, I think, the courage to make the trip from New York. And then when I got out here, there was just, I had a really great acting teacher, Sandy Marshall, that just really, really believed in me, and helped me get through the beginning stages of being out here. And there's been a lot of people, and more lately, Ron Oliver is a director I've worked with quite a bit. There's been a few people along the way that have believed in me and just taken me. Margie Haber, there's different coaches and different actors and directors especially that have believed in what I can do and then put me in things, taking the risk, and away we go. There's a lot of other projects. Like I just directed my own short that I shot in Paris, where I wrote it and directed it. And so I want to direct as well. And I really feel inside of this Hallmark family that I'll have a good shot at directing it within that family, hopefully in the next few years. I know this sounds cliche, but all the movies are so unique and special in their own ways, because you shoot for 3 weeks with a tight crew and the director and the co-star, and you become really close, like almost like family. As far as story, I really liked Anything for Love, where I played a male nurse, and I was keeping a secret from my love interest, who was Erica Christensen, who was like a billionaire, and she was pretending that she was just an assistant, and I was pretending I was a doctor, even though I was a nurse, and it was a clever script written by Barbara Curry, and I really enjoyed that script a lot. Yeah, those are really fun to do. I did a film with Sofia Coppola called Somewhere, which was a very arty film. It was just cool to be a part of a film with Sofia and working with all of Francis Ford Coppola's crew. So that was a neat experience for sure. Jessica Lowndes is somebody I'd love to work with. Jill Wagner is someone I'd really like to work with. Nikki Deloche, Aaron Cahill. There's a bunch of them. We meet each other at these press events and these media events, and you end up talking to each other and figuring, it's pretty cool. They're great. There's so many great girls that I would love to work with. Come off of several movies for Hallmark, and I think they had done really, really well. And Andrea Brooks was on one of those movies, and I remember her saying, "You should come on One Calls a Heart, it'd be real fun." And then it wasn't that much long, and now she's my love interest. That was A Wish for Christmas, where she played Lacey Chabert's assistant in that movie, and they sent my agents an offer of 2 roles, and I looked at both of them, and I chose the doctor because I related a little bit more to that character. And then just, the Hardys were really warm when I came in, and they welcomed me, and it was a compelling storyline right when I first got on there. And so yeah, it was a really interesting process not that interesting, it was a very simple process. They said, "Do you want to do this?" And it worked out. The money worked out, and the timing worked. And my fiance had been watching it in the background, and I'm like, "What are you guys watching?" Like, I couldn't figure out what they're watching, and then it ends up that I'm on that show now. A Little House on the Prairie I really liked, and I liked Michael Landon. So when I found out that his son created our show, and then I started watching a bunch of episodes, and I started to get into it a bit. It's a really great family show that feels like it's a remedy for some of the madness that's in the media right now. So it's a safe place people can go and just kind of turn off for a minute and not have to deal with politics or, you know, some of the polarizing conversation and the hate and the violence that's in media all the time, just in the language of our current situation. So yeah, I think it's very popular because people escape into this world and they love it. My favorite part of When Calls a Heart, I think, is shooting in Canada. Even though it's a little bit far away from my son in Los Angeles, it's still on the same coast. I'm Canadian, so I love being Canadian. I love the people in Canada and the country itself. And, you know, just being on set with the horses is a real big treat. And then I love Vancouver too. So there's and it's neat to put on different clothes from a different time and really play make believe, because you're in a whole other, you know, world where there's horses. So yeah, it's quite a special world that our set deck and our costume department put together. They're so talented, but it's just nice. It's really great to be a part of a show that's going on 8 years and 8 seasons. It's just so beautiful to have a job, especially at a time like this. Super grateful for it. I think the favorite moment would be with Rosemary at the end of the scene when she tells me to take care of Lee and that she knows that he's the most important person to her. And then there's a little moment there that was very. I like when there's higher stakes, when there's a lot to do, you know, and obstacles to overcome. So that was a great moment with Pascal. I'm not sure obviously I don't know what's going to come or what's happening, but I love when there's adventure. I always like to see struggle, and I want some of Carson's past to come out and have to deal with it. Like, Carson's kind of been, for 3 seasons now, not dealing with too much of his own stuff, just helping other people and being there. And I think it's time to dive into Carson's storyline a bit, and his past and his, you know, everyone's got a past. And I love in TV shows when they go back and they bring up something that just gives you so much more insight. And so that's what I'm looking forward to and talking with our new showrunner about, and is bringing in some of the pain from Carson's past that I had to overcome in order to even be who I am. Because I love, like, when Lost would do that. Lost would go back and they would show those people, like, before they got on the island, and they would show who they were. And I don't know if we can film it like a flashback, but I love when they dig into the past. So that's what my hopes are anyway. I was writing and recording albums when I was traveling the world in my 20s, and I recorded a couple albums and wrote a bunch of songs. Grew up as a drummer, and I was in our church band, and then I was a youth worship leader as well for Bible camps. Worked with kids in camps, so I've always had music around. But I traveled with my guitar for most of my 20s in Europe and Asia, and then I just always was writing and playing. And I did a film called Buttons with a director named Tim Janis, and in that film was Dick Van Dyke and Angela Lansbury and Jane Seymour, and Robert Redford was narrating it with Kate Winslet, and the proceeds went to an autism foundation called the Golden Hat Foundation. And so they asked me to play this character that opens the film and closes the film, and I was honored to do that. I was talking about music with Tim Janis, and I showed him a cover I did of Hallelujah. This was now 2 years ago, and on my YouTube channel, and he asked me if I wanted to play it at Carnegie Hall with a 100-part choir and a 200-part symphony. No, other way around, 200 choir and 100-part symphony, Hallelujah, at Carnegie Hall. So of course I said yes, and as I was preparing that, and I also sang another song that 2 Christmases ago. When I got off stage, I was hit with such an inspiration that I started writing my new record. And 3 months after Carnegie Hall, that record we were in the studio, and I finished it in 3 months after that. So that record's called Freedom for Your Soul. And then I got a chance to play at the Troubadour in LA, which is a massive, such a cool venue and hotel, cafe. And just the record's just been growing and growing and growing. And then I was here in quarantine, and I was like, one of my favorite things to do is play live music. And I just turned on my Facebook one day. Actually, Hallmark asked me if I would do like a small song before one of the episodes of When Calls a Heart. I think this was in March. Yeah. And I said, I'm not going to be able to do a song, but I could do like a 30-minute set. So I did it, and 150,000 people watched it on my Facebook. 150,000. So I was like, oh, there's an audience here. There's people here that want to hear, like they're at home, and there's a lot of people who are home alone. And so I started doing them once in a while, and then the audience just kept growing, and I loved it so much, and I was able to write some new songs, and I take requests, and then on Sundays I do more of a gospel thing. But it's been like one of my favorite things of this quarantine is doing these concerts for, now there's usually around 500 people that are with me through the whole thing, but by the end there's 30, 40, 50,000 views, which is just crazy. And then they just obviously keep growing. So there's a neat opportunity for me to do what I love, but also be a bit of nurturing. I choose songs that are either uplifting or spiritual or comforting or fun or whatever. I pretty much do everything. And it's become the surprise hit of this quarantine is just how, and I already played a lot of music and loved music, but this virtual concert, now I've done 16 of them, I think. And there's probably close to 1 million views if I add up the 16 concerts. But people turn it on and they put it on their big screens. I always get these videos of people sharing me on their big screen while they're like in the living room. It's pretty cool. And my mom loves it, so I do it for my mom as well. And I share stories too, like I talk about all kinds of things. And I've been giving away free signed CDs during every concert, and if they share the video and they comment, they qualify, and I've given away 6 so far. I'm in talks actually for a country music film that's awesome, where my character's a country music star, and I'm in conversations about writing all the music for it. I don't know. The reality TV is hard. Like, just it was stressful, and it was just a lot of time on our feet. And I like acting. Like, as much as I enjoyed baking, it was intense. Like, I would do it. They've asked me to do it again. I would do it again because it's just, I love hanging out with our cast like that. That was the fun part. But my hat goes off to these reality producers, and you get those. I don't know, man. I don't know how it is. Reality TV is hard. Like, it is not. It's not just being yourself, and like there's so much time involved. So it was cool. I know the fans really reacted really well, and I love cooking, but at that point I wasn't baking, so I'm baking a lot more. I think I was inspired. There was one of the bakers on there, Ricky. I follow him on Instagram, Ricky Caker, and he inspired me quite a bit. He's just an epic talent. Actually, they won. Him and Pascal won the whole thing. So I'm baking quite a bit now. Cookies, sourdough. So maybe that started it. I don't know. Love Parks and Rec. My son and I like watching that, in The Office, and I like to laugh. We just got through the Ozarks, which was like, it was so, I couldn't believe the filmmaking and the acting. It was more violent than I'm used to. I'm not I don't like violent things so much, but this was just the acting of Laura Linney and Jason Bateman, and the kids, and that girl who played Ruth, and just, I was blown away. I don't think I've seen a series all the way through since Game of Thrones. Like, Game of Thrones is, I think, the only other series that I've kind of sat through. all of it like that. I'm not a big sitter. I like to move and do stuff. The only movie I've seen is the Ben Affleck movie, the way back, and because it's a basketball movie, and I like sports movies, and I actually really like Ben Affleck as an actor and a director. Actually, I mean, not every movie, but when he hits it, man. And that was an enjoyable film, the way back. I'm currently writing a Christmas record to be released, hopefully for Christmas. I'm just kind of finding some Christmas songs and writing a couple that are, and then I'm reconnecting with my same producer. And we're gonna, God willing, get that done before I start filming, which would have to be like, and I have a studio here. I'm in the mountains above San Bernardino in California, so I have the ability to record here. So I'm writing these songs. I got a couple new songs that I'm writing for music. Yeah, and for film, there's a bunch of movies that I'm reading. I'm always reading new scripts, and people are sending me movies to do once we're out of this. So there's going to be a lot of good things coming for sure. Several movies, and hopefully season 8 is going to go on schedule, and everything's going to come together for Everyone Calls It Art.
Thank you for watching The Sarah Scoop Show. Head to sarahscoop.com for more.